Hi, I'm here with Stuart Andrew, MP for Pudsey. Thank you very much for speaking to me.
Nice to see you.
We've just got a few questions for you today.
Okay.
Obviously the general election's in May, so it'll be interesting to hear from you. Firstly, what are the key changes you think people living in your constituency are looking for from the next government?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things that I pick up a lot is obviously making sure the economy is right, because that's the thing that affects their everyday life. It's what means that, you know, job security for them and their family, and brings in a wage so that they can provide for their family. So I think the economy is a really important one, keeping on the track to growth that we've got at the moment and making sure we build on that. But more locally, you know, some of the issues that I get from people includes particularly concerns about building on the green belt, and looking at the traffic problems that we have in this constituency. So, you know, I think there's a whole range of different issues. My postbag gets very full and I get all sorts of different things that people raise with me. So, you know, it'll depend on a variety of different aspects, I would imagine.
Okay, and what would you do differently if you were re-elected this time?
I think the thing is, well, you know, when you're a member of Parliament for the first time, there's no sort of rule book to show you how to do it, you know, perfectly. And at the end of the day, we're human beings. But I think what I want to do is continue to be as an accessible MP as possible, because I really believe that if you're elected by the people of this constituency, you should be out there so that people can approach you, talk to you about their views, their concerns. So that's why I have surgeries in Pudsey Market, supermarkets down here in Horsforth and also in Guiseley, where people can just come up and have a chat with me, express their concerns. So I want to continue that I would say, but you know, I think the main thing is just carrying on being honest with people about the difficult position that we are in as a country, and that, you know, the hard choices we have to make.
And you've identified the preservation of your constituency's natural habitat as very important to you. With the council setting a target of the construction of 70,000 houses in the near future, with the Greenbelt and areas in Horsforth possibly being built on, do you think you have a realistic chance of preventing it?
Well, you know, the thing with politics is you have to stand up for what you believe in, and I am a passionate supporter of keeping our green belts in this area. They are important green lungs between the different towns and villages that make up the constituency. And whilst recognising we need to build new houses, what I want is a more realistic housing target. So I am working with community groups around this constituency to try and encourage the council to have an early review of that 70,000 figure to see whether or not we can bring that down. And then that would mean we wouldn't have to identify some of these greenbelt sites. From what I can understand, there's been a huge response from the public. The council have been overwhelmed, I think, by the number of letters they've had from people in this area saying they don't want the greenbelt to go. So, you know, in this job you have to remain optimistic and very determined, and I know that I will do that along with my constituents.
And do you not think the council's housing targets might bring more jobs to the area and improve the local economy?
Well, I mean, I think you know, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be building any houses. What I'm saying is we need that to be a more realistic figure. So the 70,000 was based on 2008 projections of what they thought population growth would be. However, since then we have had census figures which showed that actually the population growth wasn't as big as they were predicting. So I just want us to get it more in line with what's actually going on, so that we're building the sorts of houses that we need. And also that we look at ambitious projects like the Leeds City Centre Development Plan. People had, you know, suggested really creating a new, if you like, urban village, garden village, whatever you want to call it, for providing good housing for families that need it, good local schools and a park in an area that's well connected by transport infrastructure. And I think that's the sort of ambitious way we should be looking at. So that would create jobs in itself.
Okay. And what are some notable impacts you've made in your constituency during your term as an MP?
I think when I look at some of the transport things, I was very keen to make sure that we got the funding that we needed for the new railway stations that are now being constructed at Appley Bridge and at Kirkstall Forge. That was a good partnership of working with actually the neighbouring MP, Rachel Reeves. When she had debates, I'd go in and support her, but I also went to speak to ministers to sort of push for that. We're also seeing the improvements to the roundabouts that are happening at Thornbury and Modley. That's come through specific government money that I was able to go and ask the ministers for and lobby them. But you know, and also it's just continually raising issues with ministers that my constituents raise with me. The Children's Heart Unit was another example. I've just had this debate recently about the housing figures, and I'm now campaigning to try and get a rail link up to the airport. So, you know, I think the basic, you know, the thing about this job is that you've got lots of campaigns going on, and you've just got to keep at it.
What would you do different? What would you do differently if you were re-elected?
I think you've got to learn in the job. You know, whenever you're, if there's one way of doing something that you don't think has quite worked, it's learning from that. And it's a, you know, for me, it's just been a continual process. I've adapted to the role. I've tried to do it to the best of my ability, but I'm always prepared to learn from the mistakes that I've made. So I'll continue to do that.
Being a more suburban area, do you think your constituency is impacted by the north-south divide?
Well, there's no doubt that, you know, we have seen the economy over the last, 30 years. There's sort of, you've got this, you know, South London and South East, sort of economic powerhouse, generating a lot of, you know, the wealth. And actually, we need to see that spread, and that's what I'm very glad that the government's trying to do in terms of rebalancing that economy. So there's a lot of talk now about trying to improve connectivity between the cities around the north of England. We're, you know, funding the Northern Hub in full. We're talking about HS3 connecting, you know, so you've got good connections then from Liverpool right across to Hull, so that we can start to rebalance the economy more and stop this north-south divide. And we're actually seeing some really good, you know, figures coming out. But in Yorkshire, unemployment is falling quicker than anywhere else. We're seeing investment in creative industries. We're seeing Leeds becoming one of the leading cities in the country for the digital side of things. So I think we need to build on that and try and create a really good northern economic powerhouse so that we can stop that divide.
Okay, and another issue that is regularly raised by your constituents is that of immigration. With the with the Conservatives' focus on economic growth, do you think you can realistically promise your constituents a reduction of immigration from inside the EU?
Well, I think that's always going to be difficult because obviously we have the free movement of people that is part of our EU commitment. But I think what we're trying to do is look at some of those areas. If people are coming here to help us build the economy, to take some of the jobs that where we desperately need people, and it is controlled immigration, then that's a good thing. Where people get frustrated is when there's uncontrolled immigration and people are able to perhaps then take advantage of some benefit systems that we have. We're trying to change those so that actually, you know, you have to have you've been living here and working here for at least 3 months before you're entitled to any benefits, and even then you would only get that for a short time. We want to take that further, so that actually what we're trying to draw here is the economic migrants, the people who are going to come and work and create good standard of living for them and for the country. That's the sort of immigration we want to see.
Okay, so bearing that in mind, with Roger Tattersall, the UKIP prospective parliamentary candidate in your constituency this year, do you think his party's stance on immigration will deter voters from voting for you?
Well, we don't know is the honest answer. The fact is that UKIP have done particularly well in local elections recently. But I think there's evidence to show that they've perhaps taken support not just from the Conservatives but also from the Labour Party. But I think there are so many ifs and buts about this election that it really is going to be very interesting, and I don't think anybody can call it. We don't know what's going to happen to the Liberal Democrat support. Will that crash away as some people predict? I don't think it will, actually. Will UKIP's support be as strong as it has been in some of the by-elections and the local elections? We'll have to wait and see. But I'm mindful of the fact that, this is a marginal seat, and I'm trying to work as hard as I can to get re-elected, based on a record of hard work for my constituents.
And finally, as it was found in a recent survey by Populus for left-leaning think tank demos, that about 44% of 18 to 25-year-olds have yet to decide which party to back in the coming general election. If you were re-elected, what policies would you support that will improve living standards for young people?
Well, I mean, I think the fact that we've created, about 2 million apprenticeships in this Parliament shows that we're committed to helping people find long-term work. So even if, going to college or university is not for you, then we've created these apprenticeships to help you on the path to work. That's starting to help by bring down long-term youth unemployment, and for me that's one of the things that we've really got to tackle. I want young people to be able to find the security of a job as early as possible, and through the creation of those apprenticeships, through building our economy, that we then have the jobs and prosperity that we need. That's the sort of start I want for young people in this constituency. It's why I organised a job fair not so long ago, because I want these young people to find the opportunities to mix with the local employers and talk to them about the needs that they have, so that they can then hopefully get a job. And from that jobs fair we saw people secure employment, and I think that for me is the most important, is building a strong economy so that there's job security for them to earn a decent wage.
Okay, thank you very much, Stuart.
You're welcome. Thank you.